Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday here in Boilermaker Lounge. I am Sam Sprunger, as always, joined by Grant Flora. Grant, we are back from a couple weeks hiatus, but thank you for allowing me the time off, sir, so I could go to Italy.
Hey, it was helpful for me too. Just nice to get a couple weeks in the summer there where
Mm-hmm.
we can do the talking with some of those other guys from Purdue, the Beyond the Rails that we had 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Great start to that series. So it was nice to put that out there and get a break on our part because we had those pre-recorded,
yep,
obviously, and
yep.
but good to be back too. We got some good stuff to get
Woo.
into.
Yeah, well, it was unfortunate that my vacation had to end, but 2 weeks was plenty. I was ready to get home, and we unfortunately brought the heat with us. It was like 90 plus every day almost in Italy, and when we got home and landed the next day, it was 90 plus. So apologies, everybody in the Midwest that's suffering.
Yeah, you must be getting used to it by now. It's
Yeah, yeah. I
definitely been a
still
lot.
sweat like the devil, but it's still, but still not the. I'm used to it now. But
Yeah.
lots to talk about, like you mentioned, and Grant, there's so much that we've missed. Not any big, huge news, but stuff that's pretty important for this season a little bit, and also down the road, some recruiting, some offers being made. We're going to talk about all those types of things, but I'm going to let you go ahead and get us started.
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, I think the summer practices have finally like officially begun. I don't think they
Yes.
had started when we
Nope. They
when we left
started
off.
while I
So
was in Italy. So, yep.
yeah, seen some good social media footage and stuff from
Yep.
that, but still some key absences from that group. Omer Meyer and Oscar Clough both are gone, but right now Omer Meyer and Daniel Jacobson have just made their respective U19 national teams for the U19 World Cup. So that's a lot of fun. Purdue usually has a lot of representation on those teams. Think back to like a few years ago when Zach Edey played for Team Canada, and you had Ivy and
I was
First, who
going to
were both
say,
on the Team USA team. And I saw a stat too. I think Purdue has had representation on like the last six U19 World Cup
I
teams
think
or
you're
something
right.
like
Yeah.
that. So keeping that streak alive, and I think it's a really good thing for those players. Those guys that play on those teams tend to do well the following season. So looking forward to paying attention to Jacobson and Meyer. Jacobson, of course, on the U19 USA team, and Meyer on the Israeli team. So that was a lot of fun. The Israeli team actually had some potential hiccups whether they were even going to be able to play in that tournament because of obviously all the stuff that's going on in Israel right now. Hopefully, everybody is staying safe and being able to keep doing things normally there. But obviously, a lot going on in Israel right now. So for Omer Meyer having to navigate that, um, we can talk some more about some of the hiccups with what things will look like when they finally do get to campus
Hmm.
at Purdue. But right now, he's focused on the U19 World Cup, and that's where he and Jacobson are getting ready to play. So lots of fun for those guys.
Yeah. Omer Meyer's EuroLeague team finished their season off, and I don't know if I saw a highlight reel, and it was them celebrating. So I don't know if they won the Euro title or some, or if it was a division. I don't know. Getting to the playoff, I don't know what it was, but they had a semi-successful season, and they ended their season and bid him adieu as he heads off to West Lafayette. And like you said, he still isn't on campus. He's not in the United States. Him and Clough are both going also through some stuff to get their visas done correctly, and they want to have all the T's crossed and I's dotted in order to be able to be on campus in time for plenty of these off-season workouts. But they need to have that taken care of as well. That on top of Meyer having the U19 tournament, and reality, there's some of your mind going back home as well, in Israel, if they're not in Israel right now. So it's definitely a time for him that he, hopefully maybe the basketball court is the safe haven where he can just let everything loose and have a fun time out on the court.
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes it's easy for us to forget that these guys still have lives,
Right.
and they're
Right.
not just basketball players, and so I think as fans, it takes some patience and understanding on our parts just to to prioritize the well-being
Right.
of players as well. So certainly, like we'll wait for Omer and for Oscar Clough to get everything in order. Hopefully, I would love to see them get to campus as soon as possible, just because I
Oh,
think
sure.
from a gelling standpoint, those are the guys that you want to see there because they need to get used to the system and the players and stuff. But obviously, understanding that due course needs to take place, so it'll
Well, I'm
come
sure Clough
really good,
has the scheme and everything, to where at least he can
right?
watch some tape on it and kind of see the flow and where his spot would be. Meyer on
Hmm.
that aspect is probably maybe some of the time that he does for preparation, but for the most part, he's worried about that U19 tournament right now.
Yeah. So obviously, it'll be fun to get those guys
Yeah.
on campus and playing basketball with Purdue, with Matt Painter, all in the same gym. But um, we can take the time too. It's nothing. Nothing's gonna really be affected that much by them taking some weeks playing other basketball or waiting to get their visas. So
We've still got
um,
an entire football season before
right.
like we have plenty of time, so there's plenty of time for them to get on campus and get going with the Boilers too.
They don't go to Rupp till the end of October, and even
Right.
that's an exhibition.
Right.
So
Right. I know practice starts, I think, at the end of September, beginning of October, I think is when it starts. And so I believe it might be October 1st, maybe. I don't, no,
gotcha. I
it
don't know.
might be I don't know,
Yeah.
first week of
So
October somewhere. But
yeah.
yeah.
Point being, there's still plenty of time left, and they're gonna be fine. This is a team. When you had the leadership, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman, Ren, plus the culture and everything that Purdue has, those guys will have no trouble fitting in and figuring things out. And if they're not the most well-oiled of a machine the first month of the season, like it's gonna be fine. It This team's talented enough to win games anyway, and even if they drop a game or two, like uh, they as long as they're improving and reaching their potential to where they can have a good Big Ten season, hopefully get after another championship within the conference, and then be ready to go by March. Like that's all you really want from your season. Even though it'd be great to go undefeated in the non-conference and win all those tournaments and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Go
It's
undefeated, period.
Yeah, it's like as great as that would be. It's not like the world's going to end if they were to drop one of those games or have a slower start than what we would hope, just simply because those players are still figuring out the system. Like it's that would be something I would understand as a fan.
Right, absolutely. I was looking at an article by our buddy Dustin Schutte. He had actually talked about, did an article. It's called "Purdue's Dominant Run in Producing USA Basketball U19 Players Continues." So, with Daniel Jacobsen earning his spot on the U.S. basketball U19 team, Purdue's now had 7 players earn a spot on a roster since 2015.
Yeah, that's
And it's the
impressive.
6th straight time. They're saying right here, Purdue's Daniel Jacobsen becomes the 7th Boilermaker since 2015 to represent the USA. Sorry, that's just the USA on U19 on the U19 team. All 6 of the U19 national teams in that span have had at least one player. So Purdue's had 7. The next closest is Oklahoma State, Duke, and Kentucky with 4 players in that same time.
Wow.
That's Cobra Stats on X. They posted that. I don't know when it was.
So is the
Last
U19
week,
every 2 years, and then the U18 is every 2 years?
I believe so. And
They
they flip
alternate
flop. Yeah,
because Jacobson was on the U18 last year,
correct.
right? Okay,
Yep. Yep. So
nice. That's crazy though, that stat.
yeah, isn't it? Yeah, it's an amazing. It talks about the culture, that we get good players that maybe aren't stand out by themselves, but in a team setting they fit well and they lead to wins. And I think that's part of the great culture that Purdue's built in that time frame.
Who are those players, do you think? I mean, Jacobsen,
I
Ivy and
believe
Caleb
Carson
Hurst were on it.
Edwards was one.
Edwards. So there's four.
He's in the picture here. Carson Edwards, that was in a game basket when he was at Purdue, but he's on here, so I'm assuming. Let's see if he mentions that in there, because I was gonna say, did Swanigan make it?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, something. Oh, here it is. Caleb Swanigan, Carson Edwards, Trevion Williams, Caleb First, Jaden Ivey, both in the same year. First and Ivy, Miles Colvin, and Daniel Jacobsen. Those are the 7 that have made the U19 team. And you just mentioned Jacobsen made the U18 team last year. So definitely something to say about the Boilers.
Yeah, Jacobsen will be interesting. He was one of the best players on that U18 team last year. Really was what got us excited about him coming in, and then obviously had the unfortunate injury. But it was not quite the same situation in this U19 team. He really, from what I heard and the little bit that I looked around, he was a little bit more just kind of middle of a pack, just trying to kind of figure things out. There were a few centers on that team. I don't even remember who they were, but they were kind of going back and forth. I think Merez Johnson was one of the centers that made that team. And really, from what I heard, Jacobsen was not standing out as the best center on that team, which you would have thought compared to what he did last year.
Right.
I think what I heard was that really guys were just attacking him defensively, and they were seeing a lot of success. And then kind of what some people were commenting about was probably what it is. Jacobsen having gained 30 pounds legitimately based on what he and Coach Painter have said. He's still figuring out how to move and how to kind of play with that new body, considering he's also
how
coming
much
back
agility
from injury.
did he lose, if any?
Right. And conditioning, just trying to get back into the flow of basketball. So I think this U19 tournament will be a great chance for him to kind of figure out how to play with this new body and to kind of become that new player that Coach Painter and Purdue are looking for him to be. So I'm excited to watch that happen. I'm not sure how many minutes we'll see him play. I would imagine he'll get in and at least play some decent minutes, but I'm not sure he'll be one of the focal points like he was on that U18 team last year. But regardless, it's going to be a great experience for him that hopefully will help him build and get to the point where come regular season time, he is a staple down in the post for those Boilermakers and can fill in those gaps.
I honestly think that him not being the focal point is probably extremely beneficial for him right now, because he's coming in trying to fill in a new body, feel it out and get into basketball shape with the new body that he's got, and build up that stamina that he needs, build up the just being in basketball motion with that much weight. How quickly does he get tired? Things like that. You never know. You're getting used to those things. If he's the guy and he's trying to figure that out, it might have some adverse effects. So I think this is a very good, advantageous opportunity for him to be on the world stage, but still have a secondary role to it.
Yeah, I think that's totally the case. So, it's going to work well for him. I think Omar Meyer just getting to play in this tournament, and I think for him, the international basketball, he's used to it. It's a place that he feels comfortable, and now he can go and play guys his age, because he's used to playing, like you said, in that Euro League where he's playing guys that are a lot older than him.
Yeah.
Just a wide range of skill sets in that league. So now he's playing against fellow 19-year-olds. I will be interested to see what that Israeli team can do, because they finished, I think, 4th in the U18 last year with Omer, I think. Or maybe, no, that was the Euro Basket. They finished
that was
in the top 3 or 4. So
right.
Obviously they're coming in potentially as one of the better teams if they play well and if Omer does his thing.
Sure,
so they'll be fun to watch. Maybe even we'll see Israel match up with Team USA, and that'd
be
be
great.
A fun game. Yeah.
Hopefully it can't happen until the gold medal game, because then they're playing for it. Then those two get on campus with each other, and
yeah, there we go, right there. So
bragging rights on campus.
Yeah. long story short, excited for what this summer has to offer the Boilermakers on their many
And when
platforms.
does that tournament start? I didn't even look to see. Do you know
I
offhand?
don't know. I would assume maybe still a week or two
June
away, but
28th. June
oh, really?
28th. So
So a couple
that'd
days
be
away
tomorrow,
or one day
Saturday.
away.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so they play Australia in group play at 11:15 Eastern. So I don't have any other information then other than it's tomorrow.
Okay. I have
It
to
doesn't I
watch
it
out.
yeah, there's no TV information, but I'm sure if you looked up um 2025 FIBA U19 World Cup uh schedule and you'd probably get where it's at on
If
TV with
nothing
them.
else,
So,
they'll post like full game highlights on
oh
YouTube
sure.
afterwards, and you can watch probably 10 to 20 minutes of the major highlights of the games. And that's a good way to do it if you're not trying to watch a 2 hour basketball
Yeah,
game.
if you don't have the time to, if you can, great, do it. Watch, see, you might get to see a couple of Boilers play, or just basketball in general. And live
Yeah.
basketball, that's that's always fun to watch. Um, Not as much of an NBA fan as I used to be, but I still watch the finals. So this year was pretty good. So
Yeah, it was fun to watch those Pacers, wasn't it?
yeah,
Unfortunate
yeah.
for Halliburton to suffer the game 7 injury, but
And he was hot too. Like
yeah,
he was on like he had 9 points in 7 minutes. You could see a huge game coming out of him, and he just my heart sunk for him, because I know uh, he wouldn't change it. He wouldn't say, "Well, if I didn't," yeah, he just he gambled and he failed. It happens
yeah.
from time to
Well,
time.
yes, it was a gamble, but like game 7 of the finals, that's a once in a
And
lifetime.
that's my point is
You're not
you
missing
know
that.
you're
Yeah,
not. I totally 100% agree, but it's
yeah,
still a gamble,
yeah,
and he did unfortunately fail. His gamble did not pay off.
yeah,
Had he stayed healthy to where at least it didn't rupture his Achilles and scores 25, 30 points, Indiana may be the NBA champions, but um, if some butts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Uh,
But let's move on to some other stuff. Some other news that came out during our hiatus is the Baha Mar is now set. The field is set. The matchups are set. So like before, we didn't even have all four teams, and now we have matchups. So like we went from only 3 teams in this 4-team tournament to now we know who we're going to play. Um, I believe it was Texas Tech was the final team to be added in. That's a good program, Grant. So like no matter who Purdue draws, for the first round game and then who they could potentially play in their second game, really tough competition.
yeah, Texas Tech in a lot of preseason top tens, even top fives.
Yeah.
So they honestly might be the best team, at least preseason ratings wise, that Purdue could potentially face in this
Right.
non-conference. I mean, that's including Bama, Auburn, all those teams on their schedule already, Iowa State, Marquette. So I was pretty excited to see that because assuming Purdue gets past Memphis, which it looks like they will. Memphis isn't supposed to be that great. They lost
Yeah.
PJ Haggerty to the portal.
Purdue drew got paired
Right.
with Memphis. So Texas Tech and Wake Forest are playing the other game.
So assuming they get past Memphis and play Texas Tech, to me, that is a guaranteed tough matchup that they'll play.
Uh-huh.
If Auburn and Alabama all kind of aren't ready to play and have lower seasons than what they've had the past couple of years, same for Iowa State and Marquette, at least they'll get a good neutral game against Texas Tech
Right.
to kind of get that tone a little bit and hopefully build a resume if they beat Texas Tech. Either way, um, it's a great test and a great chance for them if the other games don't pan out the way they'd like to. Either way, they're going to have a great schedule. They're going to learn a lot about themselves in this non-conference. But I was excited to see another top 5, top 10 caliber team on their schedule, assuming, of course, the two both win.
Yeah, and that's the key. Or I hate to say this, but if they
Right?
both lose,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, it's a good field. Like you said, Purdue probably drew the easiest draw out of it with with Memphis. It's not taking anything away from Anthony Hardaway's squad. They're just down from what they had last year, just like you just said. So it should be Purdue against either Texas Tech and Wake Forest, or Wake Forest. So that it's either a matchup of we know somebody on the other team, or it's a top 10 matchup. And I'm hoping for the top 10 matchup, even though I don't have any ill will towards Wake Forest. But I think that bodes well for March. I really do think so.
Yeah, this is basically a carbon copy of the tournament last year with the one in San Diego. Purdue probably got the easiest draw with NC State,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had a BYU team on the other side that at the time wasn't ranked or anything, but they had
Right.
Cannon Catching, so there was a bit of a storyline there.
Right.
Or it was Ole Miss who was ranked and
Yeah.
had Chris Beard coaching them, so that was what ended up
Ah.
happening. Either way, it was like it feels like a similar type situation
Yeah.
to what we had
Yeah.
last year. So
And I do believe it's 4 straight years Purdue has won a tournament setting event in
yeah,
November. So let's keep it going and make it 5 and get a top 10 quad 1 victory right out of the chute there. Well, I guess we play Auburn or Alabama right before the Baja. I think it's Alabama.
Alabama's like that second or third regular season game they
Yeah,
have. So
that's what it is then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Alabama will be our table setting for our Thanksgiving feast there, hopefully. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting field because Wake Forest and Memphis, they're formidable, but it's kind of almost set up like, hey, let's make this a top 10. Like it's gonna be a top 10 game between one arguably probably one of the best team against one of the top 10 teams, Purdue and Texas Tech. I think it looks like it's the table's setting nicely for that.
Yeah, when Darian Williams was still potentially when it was still an option for him to return to Texas Tech, they were a potential top 3 or even
Yeah.
preseason number 1 type team. Then he decides to transfer and obviously they take a bit of a dip, but they still brought back JT Toppin. They still have a nice core, and I'm sure they brought in some transfers. I don't know exactly what their roster looks like outside of Toppin, but they're going to have some established pieces. They're well coached. Grant McCasland is a really good coach. I thought
For
he
sure.
was going to be a candidate to take over a job at like Indiana or something like that. Didn't go
Agreed.
anywhere. So Texas Tech is looking to have a great season coming off something solid last year. So uh, it's going to be two teams that have high goals and high expectations. They're both well coached and they both have some studs. It's going to be a great matchup if everything pans out the way that we hope it does.
They were an Elite Eight team that had Florida down by 10 with like less than 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Like and yes, they took a hit losing Williams, but at the same time, they've got people they brought somebody in, and I was just looking at it and I closed out the window. Silly me. But they're an Elite Eight team last year. They're definitely a top 10, if not a top 5 team that could be back to the Elite Eight or even to a Final Four if they get the right draw in March.
Yeah. And again, like I said, Grant McCasland was a great coach. He,
Absolutely.
oh man, I forget where he coached before. It's blanking. Was he the North Texas coach
Might have
when they played
been.
Purdue? Or is that somebody else?
Oh, how you spell his last name?
I think it's McCasland.
Yep, found it. I found it.
Okay.
Um, it says he let's see, coached. It just gives me the current one. Jeez, Louise. Oh
We
well.
know he coaches for Texas Tech.
Yeah, we know he's at Texas Tech. Oh, jeez.
I think he was the North Texas coach when they played Purdue, but I might be
Midwestern
completely
State,
off.
Midland College, and Arkansas State.
Nope, guess not. I don't know who coached North Texas then.
So
Still,
strike out on that one, but
he
yeah,
did
he's
good
a
at
great
his
coach.
previous colleges. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to figure out who that was now because I don't know why that came to my mind.
I do not know.
Yeah, I'm looking
He
real quick.
I think he took over. He took over when Beard resigned, correct?
No.
Or was there
Well,
another coach in
there
there?
was at least an interim,
Well,
but
oh, okay, yeah,
McCaslin was
that's right.
shortly after that.
He wasn't there the year he resigned. He was there. He replaced at the end of that year or after
Something
that year,
like
right?
that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Grant McCaslin.
What?
2021 North Texas Mean Green were coached by
Oh, it
Grant
must. I
McCaslin.
must not have looked. I must not have looked further down. Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, it was Grant McCaslin.
I guess we're going with it. Well,
Yep.
that'll be interesting then.
So yeah, it's a nice little field. It's a nice 2-game getaway, and then get back on campus and try to get back into normal. And I use the air quotes normal basketball. Um, but yeah, it's that's a really nice uh, little tournament that they're going to be in. But let's before we end today, we've got some recruiting news as well. Matt Painter gave out some offers to multiple. Whoops, I didn't mean to close that out. There it is. Multiple uh, recruits. And Grant, there are a couple of big guys for 2026. So maybe a look of maybe building, letting Jacobsen finish his career and then they move in right in after them, maybe depending on who they have commit, if anybody. But there are some others that got some offers from Matt Painter as well.
Yeah,
Are
there
you?
were.
Oh,
Yeah, I
sorry.
know you're looking. I know you're looking, but there were several guys I saw, even maybe some 5 stars that were at least in the mix there that Painter was
Cameron
talking to.
Williams
So
scheduled his official visit.
okay,
He's let's see, where's he out of? He's 6'11 for 2026. He's 6'11 center from out of the Phoenix area, and he scheduled a visit, official visit, to go see the Boilermakers. He's a 5-star forward,
wow, yeah,
one of the
I'm
top
glad.
prospects of 2026.
Hey, I am glad that Purdue is at talking to these guys and at least in the mix for some of these guys. I know we've always said like they get the 4 stars, they turn them into great college players and stuff, and that's great, and they're going to keep doing that. But like they're getting to the point now where they can bring in some top caliber recruits, and I think they should definitely look into doing that. Even if like those guys might be looking for NBA aspirations and whatnot, and maybe only stay 1 or 2 years. But like, as long as you're not building your entire program around guys like that, I think they're good to go after and to kind of talk to, and at least like tell them what you're about and see if their culture fits. And if they're not, and you don't want them, and they don't want to come to Purdue, that's fine. But at least talk to them and be in the mix. And I think Painter's doing exactly that. So that makes me happy as a fan.
It's always been my premise that Matt Painter doesn't get the 5 stars. He wants them, but he doesn't get them, and it's because he's not he's unwavering on what he brings as a culture to them. They're accepting a culture and him as a way of doing things, and it becomes success. Well, they're finally starting to get some players that are working into, they turn into 5 stars basically. If this was Braden Smith as a freshman, oh my gosh, he would have had many offers,
Yeah.
and he might not have been to Purdue. But now they've developed Zach Edey. Goodness gracious, he is only like in his 4th year playing basketball. Uh, when he graduated, I think he had 6 total
Yeah.
years of basketball. But my point being is he's developed these players into what they are, where they would be 5-star recruits if they were freshmen. So now those guys are looking at him and going, even if I was there 1 year, it would make him a better player. Maybe that goes through their mind. And don't get me wrong, Matt Painter doesn't necessarily want the one and dones, but if he could get one to stick around for a couple of years, that's Jaden Ivey.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we've seen that happen before, and it's still going to help your teams be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I'm a 5 star, if you want to win basketball games, Purdue's program and culture is going to be more and more appealing when you look at these other places and there's all these transfers and all these NIL type stuff, which you can make maybe more money than you will at Purdue, but you're going to make decent money because Purdue's got money. You know, they're not, they do
Braden
well for
Smith's making
themselves,
almost
right?
$2 million, so I mean
Yeah.
he's doing well for himself.
So you can still get that aspect of it, but you can actually be in a winning culture that can go out and have a lot of fun on the basketball court. And I think that could become more and more appealing with this transition of what college basketball really looks like and the recruiting aspect, especially. So I'm hoping maybe that helps Purdue out in some of those
Absolutely.
ways. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what these next couple of years look like.
Question for you, and this is totally off topic. You mentioned NIL deals, and Braden Smith's making, like I mentioned, almost $2 million. That's without any national deals. Like they can have national deals. Do you think if Zach Edey would have been able to draw completely 100% of his potential NIL, would he have been a national brand somewhere?
Ah, man, I don't know. It's part of me thinks he definitely could. I mean, he obviously two-time National Player of the Year, or
Right.
a one-time coming back. Like you would
Yeah.
think he's got everything going for him. At
Like
the
a
same time,
whiteboard company, somebody,
yeah,
because after that game against FDU, it's never been confirmed, but very roughly thought that Zach Edey punched a hole in a whiteboard.
wow,
Wouldn't it be amazing to play off of that? And so,
yeah,
like dry erase in their boards and everything. We want you to a national spokesman.
yeah. That would have been pretty insane. The other part is it's like okay, Edie also like didn't have the flashiest game in the world,
Right.
and a lot of people hated him for it. So
Right.
uh, you have to balance that. Maybe that would have hurt
uh
his brand or whatever. I don't,
Maybe.
as opposed to a guy like Cooper Flag,
Right.
he's just this NBA prospect and stuff. So I don't know, but it's an interesting question. I hope for his sake, I kind of hope he would have been able to do that well, except that then it just hurts more that you couldn't get all of that. So I don't
Hmm.
know, but interesting question for sure.
Yeah, and I apologize to hijack our recruiting thing on that, but it just kind of, you know, came out there. I know we were talking about some other recruits. Do you remember where you were at before I so inconsiderately sidetracked us?
I mean, we were just talking about the potentially some five stars and what that
Yeah,
might look like. I know some people have probably heard about the 7'3" guy who came and visited Purdue and is going to visit some other places as
yeah,
well.
he's
But
Italian.
yeah, hey, there you go.
His
So
name's
I
Luigi. I don't remember his last name, but
think it starts with an S, but yeah, I
I
don't
think you're right.
remember. But yeah, I mean, obviously another big guy to come in and just keep the pipeline going as far as those unusually tall players that Purdue always gets, and I love the fact that they get them. So I'm crossing my fingers for this guy, but that was fun. And then Colvin Landrew, another guy that's a strong player. I think he's a wing ish or maybe a forward. I don't know for sure, but looks like a solid player who's going to go visit Auburn now after visiting Purdue. So just some more of these names that we've heard a little bit about as far as Purdue contacting maybe a couple months ago. Now starting to get around to some visits and hear some more news
Siu
updates
Joe.
on. See you, Joe.
Luigi
Yeah.
Siugo. Siugo.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. I know I've seen it. I couldn't tell you how to pronounce it, but yeah.
A couple of centers that I mentioned earlier were Arafan Diane. He's I believe a 6'11" center out he plays basketball in Iowa, but he is from Africa. And then Quinn Costello, he is another big man that they offered. They have also offered Eric Dampier Jr. I remember his dad playing at Mississippi State and getting them to the Final Four. That's how old I am, uh, Grant. But he's a 2028 class.
Oh, yeah. I did notice that too. Purdue's going
Mhm.
after a couple guys that are a few
Dylan
years down the
Betts,
road still.
7'2", in 2028 class as well, extended an
Okay.
offer.
Okay.
Darius Wabbington, 6'11" center, 27, and then Luigi Siugo, 7'4" center from Italy for 26. So there are 2 or 3 big men here just for 2026 he's offered.
Yeah, there we go. So they're going to have a lot of roster spots to fill, especially after this year losing all those guys. So
and don't forget, we've seen a lot of good stuff from Luke Ertl in his
that's another one. I don't think we've talked about that as much since
and he's a
3
senior
weeks.
in high school this next year. So he's been tearing it up. So I would look for him to be on a pretty big upswing. Now the problem with that is even though they've committed, they could still decommit.
That's true.
Not saying that's gonna happen, not at all. But
he strikes me as a Purdue guy.
He's
going to go to Purdue.
Absolutely. But after this year, there's going to be a lot of roster spots. So Matt Painter, and he knows as we get, we're in 2025. By the time we get to 28, none of these guys that are on this team are going to be here.
Yeah.
Maybe Meyer.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would be though. So.
Maybe Antoine West. We'll see. Antoine West looks pretty good in those social media clips that we've seen in those first practices. I'm excited to see what he does. But can you imagine a backcourt of Omer Meyer and Luke Ertl, potentially not this coming season, but the year after that? That's a lot of fun with West and Cox and Harris potentially still around. This Purdue team's not going anywhere.
And they're, Jacobson's probably still going to be around. He's not going to go after this year, I wouldn't think, unless he just absolutely blows up and becomes player of the year. But that's a good thing for us.
Unless, obviously, who knows what the portal, but assuming the guys who come back and should come back do come back, they're going to have a strong core. Even that's saying a lot when you can lose potentially 5 the significant guys, especially 3 guys that will start and be your focal pieces, to be able to come back and still have a solid team and solid core for the year after. Says a lot about where the Purdue program is at.
And it really does feel starting to feel like we're not looking at rebuilding after we lose big pieces. We're reloading those big pieces into something else. It may not look exactly like we had been successful in, but we took out that piece and put another piece, and it took us a different way. This team is not the Zach Edey led teams. There's still a little bit of imprint from it because of the big 3. But it's a different team now, and they're doing a phenomenal job. I'm totally and wholeheartedly pumped that this is the era that we're going through right now.
Yeah. They play differently, but they find ways to win. They still have the same toughness, all the same culture pieces that have gone through these years and years, but they adapt to the personnel they have, and they just make the most out of it. And with the way the game is being played and the way that college basketball is developing, Purdue being who they are is pretty impressive and pretty fun to watch, I think, both as a fan, but also people that aren't fans. I think you have to appreciate what Purdue has done, and as far as just navigating college basketball. And so I would definitely tip my cap to them, even if I wasn't a fan.
If you're not a Purdue fan and you take delight anytime you see that Purdue loses, that is a good thing for us Purdue fans.
Yeah. Yeah, there you
go. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of the Friday edition of Boilermaker Lounge. Grant, a lot of conversation. I mean, we're pushing 40 minutes, so that means we had a lot. And honestly, I could have probably talked a little bit more about some other guys more in depth, but you know what? We can do that later on down the road. Right. We're going to get some more Beyond the Rails recorded as well. Try to get those out sporadically throughout the rest of the summer. It's a long time until tip off of basketball season, but we hope to have a lot of good Boilermaker content for you each Tuesday and Friday until the season gets going. Then we'll get into 3-show mode probably. But thanks so much for joining us. For Grant Flora, I'm Sam Springer. We'll see you later.